I would like to welcome everybody onto the call. Yes, it's been a very interesting week, and I'm grateful to God of us on the call are here. And I hope and pray that this morning, like Janet always does, I will be able to also impact you in a way that you always find high impactful. So, in Janet's absentia, I've chosen to talk about something. I hope it will impact you. There's that prayer, they call it the Serenity Prayer. I think I came across this information a couple of years ago, and I really thank New Life for the opportunity of personal development. I think that is very, very important. I don't know if you've taken the moment to actually uh, put your energy on that, but I thank God for the space we're in with New Life. I mean, right from the founder all the way to the newest distributor. There's always something beautiful and something nice to learn. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I learned about the Serenity Prayer. Went, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. When you think through that prayer, when you think through that statement, there's a whole lot of meaning that if you come to appreciate that statement, you literally have your life changed as well. You know, grant me the serenity. Serenity being the understanding, the compassion, the 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 acceptance. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. So in our lives, there are things we may not be able to change. And growing up, I probably spent a lot of time worrying about things I cannot change. And I like how our mentor, Mr. Kanapia puts it, says, if up to this moment you have been poor, I mean, that's a fact. That's a fact. If you've been poor, if you've been broke up to this moment, we can't do anything about that history. But you see, moving forward, from this point going on forward, you actually have the opportunity to change your today and tomorrow. And sometimes I've met people and I tell them, you know what, if you cannot resolve this today, believe me, even after 6 months, you'll not be able to resolve it. So if right now, for example, no, no offense intended. If right now, for example, you sleep in a rented house, I'll say like up to this moment, you can't do anything about it. You have to pay the rent. That's just the fact. See, you have the opportunity, but by the close of this year, for example, for you to have actually bought a piece of land. You have the opportunity, you have the opportunity to choose to change that moving forward. So I came across this very interesting concept. They're called the three circles. So there's a circle of concern, there's a circle of influence, then the circle of control. Now, for the circle of concern, usually, we sit down and put all things in there that actually worry us. I mean, you think about anything in your life that has worried you before. I think one of the things that worried me as I grew up was the fear of death, you know. Having lost a mother when I was much younger, about 6, I constantly grew up in fear. Especially, you know how like death has you gripped. Um, you're always constantly scared that maybe someone you love is going to pass on or something like that. And it gripped me for quite a while until eventually, even up to the point where I had started doing New Life. but it was a concern I had. A couple of concerns, political concerns. Some of us have a lot of political concerns. Some of us are concerned about the football teams, Arsenal, Manchester. I don't know what you're concerned about in the African Cup of Nations now, but of course I know if your country is represented, but I saw the other day, Zambia is doing quite an interesting thing. And so is Tanzania. They're well represented at the African Cup of Nations. Maybe those are things that you could, put in your circle of concern. But right there, if you went ahead and did this activity, in the circle of concern, you would put a number of the worries that you might have about your life. Okay, then circle of influence is, and this, by the way, was a concept developed by Stephen Covey. It's, I think, could be in the habits of 7 habits of highly effective people, but it's really very, very practical. So among other things is the circle of influence. Circle of influence are the things you're worried about, but you can do something about. So, for example, I used to worry about my health quite a lot growing up. Not that I had issues with my health, but I'd seen people around me that had lost their lives due to health. Coming into a new life, I noticed that is something I can influence. I used to worry about money. But I really was extremely worried about growing up and failing to provide. Because I'd also again seen people in my life who, in their late parts of their lives, were still struggling to provide some of the basics. So that's really concerned me. And then, and sometimes the circle of influence could include things that either directly, so you could have things that concern you, that you have a concern over, and you can write all those things. Then you can pick some of those things and say put them in the circle of influence. Then the smaller circle, the inner circle, is the circle of control, which is basically representing things we can actually directly do something about. Okay, having to appreciate and know the difference between those three circles properly probably changed my life quite a lot, because some of us go through a lot of mental health challenges simply because we are unable to differentiate that. That's the prayer we started with, that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So when you put those things in those different circles, a lot of the things we are concerned about that take up our time out there are things that surely we have very little influence over. We have very little influence over the wars that taking place across the world. Probably the least you can do for the things that are in your circle of concern is pray. Because are you going to get a gun and go to Israel? And okay, well, will you be on the Palestine side, the Israeli side? Are you going to get uh what else is there? If, of course, if you're in that space, everyone has a space they influence. I was going to talk about the oil in Hoima. What can you do about the oil in Hoima that you can influence? I mean, there are all these things that we spend our conversations on. The other day, I was listening to a couple of people who spent close to 45 minutes discussing Arsenal and Liverpool and who is likely to win. And I was thinking to myself, okay, now I don't know how much influence individual here in Uganda has over the winning of a certain team in the European League. But you know what? Sometimes we do spend our times in there. Now, under the circle of concern, this is what I encourage you to tell yourself. If I can't control influence it, the question is, can I accept it? And usually that's usually the change, the trick, the prayer, the wisdom to know the difference, because sometimes factors outside our control, they affect you and they concern you, but you can't do something about them. And oftentimes, when you spend so much time on those factors, I'll give you a very good example. Can you control the fact that it is raining in January? It's raining all throughout. since the last season here in Uganda. Of course, it's hot in some areas. I'm aware of that. But I mean, if it's rained yesterday, it rained the other day, how much control do you have over that? How much control do you have over that? And I also not forgetting that sometimes miracles happen. I've seen people who pray, people who have all sorts of methods to chase away rain. But the truth is, if rain is coming, it's coming. If it has rained in the morning, it has rained. And there's nothing you can do to change that. So usually the response should be, let go and accept that you cannot directly do something about them, and focus on what you can influence, control. I think that's, for me, has been one of the biggest lessons. So right here in Uganda, we were given a price list the other day, and man, um, the fact is that National Drug Authority has requested New Life to do registration of some products, and that's how it is. And each registration of each product is quite costly. So New Life is going on and probably going to go through a process of re-registering. Some of these products have been around since 1996 when the company came through. And now the company has been doing this for the last 28 years. Excuse me. The company has been doing this for the last 28 years in a very slow and chronological order, you know. And over the years, I've registered a couple of products, which of course were accepted onto the market. And boom, one morning, a policymaker gets up in the morning and says, you know what, I think this is, we have to reclassify, as they put it. Now, someone who has done law, I know that's one of the ways people use law, and, you know, either create some more income or whatever it is. And you can use law to do pretty much a lot of things. But the idea that someone wakes up in the morning and they are saying they have to reclassify. So the question is, seated at in my business, New Life, how much influence do I have over that? And then now I have to ask myself, if I can't control this individual who has decided to reclassify the products and therefore causing one of us to lose access to a couple of products, can I accept it? You know, and when that came to me, I said, you know what, I really have no control over this. I think I need to accept. So the response I had was then to let go and accept that I cannot directly do something about this. However, I'm going to focus on what I can influence and control. And what did I bring into my circle of influence in that situation? The fact that God had still given us cleaning products, skincare products. God has given us the super grow and the few nutritional products that we can maximize on. And I don't know if that makes sense to many of us on the call. And it would be nice to get a bit of feedback in the chat room. It's as you saw on the other day, my temperament is one that requires feedback. Yeah, but yeah, that was the thing. Now, at times things happen in our lives. For example, a death occurs. I think death is it's one of the things that gripped me as fear. I was very fearful about death. And I remember, I think, up to the point when David Ebong passed on, I remember calling Charlie Bolton, and I think he had mastered these circles. And then Charlie, you know what, my very good friend, a very good friend of mine has passed on, da, 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 da. It was an accident. And Charlie responded in a very interesting way. He said, did you know the Lord? That's what he responded. Did you know the Lord? I said, yes. Ah, okay, fantastic. He's in a better place. Let's go. You know? And I was like, wow, I wish I could learn how to respond. It's like that. You know, the person is in a better place. And you have made here, you have a lot to do on your journey. You still need to get, yeah. So yes, did you know the Lord? Yes. Okay, he's in a better place. Let's go. And he hung up. And I was like, okay, that was pretty serious. So I think for me, out of that, I took the lesson that sometimes when you look at something like that used to hold me so firmly, like death, when I learned that I didn't have any control over it and any influence over it, I had to accept and then let go and then think of it as the way Charlie Bolton about. By the way, for those that are on the call for the very first time, Charlie Bolton is one of the most successful distributors in your life, and will be coming through sometime in July. So I encourage you to please Whatever plans you have, don't plan to get married, get sick during Taliban weekend. Such a life-changing event. So the circle of influence then goes on and says, if it's not in my control, can I exert influence in it? Can I exert influence on it? Yeah. So there's some things that may not be in our control, but you can. And just like I've said, yeah, you don't have control over the National Drug Authority here in Uganda, but you have control and influence. You have influence over what products now we can begin to pass on to our customers. You know, hopefully we shall be getting omega-3 soon, but we don't have Pro Vitality, but we shall get TNN, carotenoid, and omega-3, and move with that. And guys, I'm excited about how research is taking us, because even across the world, people are looking at Uganda, for example, and I recognize all the other countries on call, and they're wondering, how are these guys able to continue uh, sponsoring and creating volume for the products when almost 3/4 of our healthcare products have been removed from the shelf. Yeah, as we speak right now, we are probably at about 110 people sponsored, which is way higher than what we have done in the last 3 years. So it all goes back to the attitude. What can we control? Let's sell what we have. What can we influence? Let's sell what we have. So factors involving other people, situations that you cannot interact with, but you can only partially affect. Your response should be focus on factors where you have the most influence and accept those where you have limited influence. Okay? Yes, we have a concern. I have a concern for Buveras, for example. I get a little bit disturbed when I see someone throwing a polythene bag, maybe outside the window, or just throwing the polythene bag, because I've come to appreciate the need to preserve this environment for the generations to come. Yeah, I get really. So sometimes when someone does that, I probably, if I'm next to them, I'll pick up a camera, put it in the dustbin, maybe educate them. That's if they're not interested. If they're interested, but then, I mean, it's something that, so I can do my part as far as the environment is concerned. I may not be able to influence the entire Africa in that. Maybe I could. It's not the kind of direction I want to go into, because I have things that I feel I have strengths in that I can actually be able to influence. Okay. So in your life, you're going to go and look at things you can influence, things that you probably can make an impact. And I'll give you some examples shortly. Okay, then the circle of control is it in my control? That's the question you're asking yourself. And usually the question is, 10 minutes to go, is factors that are directly within your control. They mainly concern you and only you can change them. So oftentimes the response should be direct most of your time and energy to these things to create more security. Now, the lesson this morning I want you to take away. If you are doing something today, try and put a lot more of your thoughts and energy in the areas of your life where you are directly in control. Some of those areas, for example, include what you buy, where you live. You, right now, if you're on the call, you are in direct control of where you live. You're living there because you've chosen to live there. You're in direct control of what you can earn. Not what you're earning, but what you can potentially earn. You're earning what you're earning from your boss because that's what you've decided to take home. But you are a lot more brighter, a lot more intelligent. You have a lot more potential to actually decide on how much you want. And I think that's what I saw 20 years back in your life. I looked at the journey many people had taken, employment and self-employment, and the limitation they had. And I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with employment and self-employment. There's totally nothing wrong. It's okay to be employed. You can actually be a very successful distributor with New Life when you're employed or self-employed. But I needed to have some form of security by creating an income stream that I had no limit as to how much I could earn. You know, you can choose what you read. You're right here at our place. Incidentally, every time people come here, they ask, how come you don't have a TV? So Charlie Bolton, Charlie Bolton, many years ago shared with us and said, those guys who have TVs in their homes and spend so many hours on them, and he used to refer to them as idiot boxes. They take up too much of your time. You can imagine how much time you spend on TV. And sometimes, even when you're spending that time on TV, the things that they are talking about and they're sharing with you Are they positive? Are they things you have control over? Are they things you can influence? Okay, excuse me. Yeah, so you will realize that thing. So okay, it was not easy. It didn't happen now. Okay, once in a while, if the good thing is that there are things like tabs and things like that, so you can go and watch Netflix when you're in a relaxation mood. But even up to this very day, we kind of don't have a TV in our place because I took Charlie's World, and when he said all the places you watch on TV, you have been there in person. So you either choose to do something about your life or choose to spend many hours of your life watching someone else. And even when I'm a very critical and and strong supporter of Arsenal, I really follow the tabs. I see what is happening, look at who has scored. I don't even know how the whole team is structured now, but it's not something that takes me away because I chose to focus my energy on things that I have um, control over. Where you sleep, how much you sleep, what you think, the food you eat. Those are all things that you have control over. And in the circle of control, that's where the action takes place. You know, in the circle of influence, that's how you internalize something. So maybe it is the local policies. I've just been sharing with you the local policies. How much can we do to influence? Maybe it's your promotion at work. Can you influence your promotion at work? Maybe it is your health. Of course, you can influence your health. Maybe it's winning a sports game. It's how your business succeeds. Those are all things you can actually influence. But then we have things we have totally no control over. We have no influence over. And it's how we react that actually determines how peaceful we are going to be in as far as our minds are concerned. And those are things like, say, whatever the government decides to do, the news, the celebrities, whether people like you or not, war, the economy, the environment, the natural disasters, all are the things that they hardly have any control over. So if we focus on the circle of concern, we allow what's in it to control us. But if you focus on the circle of influence, we are the ones in charge, and it's okay to be afraid. We all are. But understanding where to channel your thoughts and energy, which should be in the circle of control, can help us more clearly navigate, especially in these uncertain times. So maybe the questions I leave with you tonight, this morning, questions I leave with you this morning are that where are you currently spending majority of your focus as a distributor? I've continuously emphasized this. If guys, life as a world team member is nice. It's beautiful. You have a free travel every year with New Life. This year we're in Mauritius. Last year we were in Turkey. It's a shirt we put on. The year before was Durban, Zimbabwe. The year before was it was Dubai. Every single year, I thought about these things when I was just a distributor, and I asked myself, how long am I going to go for another month without getting paid as a director? Because every month that goes by and you're not paid as a director, you've lost 2 million shillings. You've lost $500. And then that's an opportunity for you to change. It's something that you are in control of. You have the ability to control how much income you're going to earn. You have the ability to control where you're going to travel to, your currency of Neo Life. You're not in Mauritius this year because you decided not to be in Mauritius this year. I'm talking to those that were here last year and they saw us going to Turkey. You've decided not to go to Mauritius. But you know what? For how long are you going to have that, in this field, in your space? So decide that you'll take control of that, okay, fine. If I'm not going to be in Mauritius in May this year, I must. And those are some of the things that went through some of our heads. I missed my first trip to Cape Town. I started the business. I saw people going to, I think it was Cancun, Mexico. And when I saw this guy going to Cancun, Mexico, I said, you know what, if this guy has gone to Cancun, Mexico, it was one representative from Uganda, I must make sure I am at the next destination. The next destination was Cape Town. Cape Town came, Janet left, she went because she was my upline then. And then she came back and motivated us. I was supposed to be on that trip with her. I didn't make it. I didn't qualify to go. And then when she came back, I said, you know what? I am not missing another trip. Those are things I was in control of. There's some things we're in control of, there's some things we're not in control of. But for the things that you're in control of, I want you to ask yourself, how much time are you currently spending on focusing on those things that you're in control of? Or you're spending a lot of your time focusing on the things which concern you, whether Arsenal is going to take the title or not. Please, footballers on the call, don't hit me back. Eh? It's just an example I'm giving. But you have the ability to actually focus on which circle you're going to put your time in. And then, okay, yeah, is it the circle of concern, the circle of influence, or the circle of control? You can put the circle of control there, but it should be the circle of control. Are you currently being as personally effective as you can in your life? Ladies and gentlemen, our days are numbered. And honestly, life is short. The other day I was very grateful coming out of secondary school. I even still remember the time I got my P7 results. I still remember the time I got my UCE. I still remember the time I got my US. I still remember the time I graduated from university. I remember all those memories. It feels like it was yesterday. Today, it's so many years down the road. Life is short. How early preparation equals success. For how many more years do you want to go out there doing your life, for example, and not being a world team member? You need to make a decision. You need to take control of that part of your life. That you know what, come because and you know what is beautiful about new life. It's not like a job where you work this month and next month and a few years, and once you leave that job, guess what? Whatever you did at that job is gone. The benefits, the best you can do is to look back at the memories. New life is different. The work you do today with new life, many years down the road, will still be paying you first. That is one. But you will still be very proud of the impact you've brought to society, trying to make the world a healthier and happier place. It is time, it is work that is timeless. And for me, I feel that is one effective way to actually live a life. Is going to be impactful in these days and in these days and age where surely life is short. If you think 80 years is a long time, the years that God gave us, if you think it's a long time, it's a very short time. Before you know it, you're 50. Before you know it, you're 60. Before you know it, you're 70. Before you know it, 80. And the question is, what have you done with your life? And it goes back to those circles that we have been discussing today. So, in closing, I pray that God grants you the serenity to accept the things you cannot change and the courage to change the things that you can and the wisdom to know the difference. Because the moment you get that wisdom and you begin to know that today you can change the house you stay in, today you can change the school of your children, today you can change where you stay, what else? The income you're earning. Today you can decide to travel. And those are things you have in control. And guess what? Life will change the better. I humbly request you and I humbly encourage you to please continue spreading the word in your life has to share. Take a moment every single day, talk to two people, just two people, talk to two. And I guarantee you, come the close of this year, there are things that you are in control of will have begun to change. Believe me, just take a moment every single day and see whether you can talk to two people. See whether you can actually show them what new life has to offer as a solution to them. And many times, as we do that consistently, day after day, as the years go by, many years down the road, people will look back and thank you for the effort you put in, getting to them, and showing them what you had. So that has been Fridays with Janet. Like I said, Janet is on the road to Kenya, and I'm excited. I'm excited about the future of our business. I'm excited about this year, and I believe guys that are on the call this morning are definitely going to end this year as world team members. So allow me to stop that. Let me see. Okay, there's quite a few comments here. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly allow me to kindly end